Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another exciting week of Español. I'm excited to bring to you Capítulo Siete, or Chapter 7, titled La Vida Diaria. This is about daily life, La Vida Diaria, and truthfully, one of my favorite chapters in the book. I have a lot of favorites, but in this chapter, you're going to learn about the following. So, my goal is that you'll be able to identify vocabulary related to personal hygiene and describe your own daily routine. We're also going to dip into the realm of reflexive verbs as well, where you'll be learning how to conjugate things that you do to yourself, such as brushing your teeth, um, washing your hair, etc. So, reflexive verbs, your daily routine, and personal hygiene, that's kind of the first component of this chapter. And then we move on to some irregular preterite verbs. Back in chapter 6, you learned about the regular preterite. So, we're just going to add a couple of irregular preterite verbs. And then finally, we're going to wrap up this chapter with a discussion on indefinite and negative words, and also the verb gustar, which means to like, and some other verbs that kind of work like gustar. Additionally, in this chapter, I'm hoping that by the end, you will be able to investigate some food and some sleep customs in the Spanish-speaking world, and also create some sentences stating where you or others went on any certain occasion. So that is our goal for this chapter, and we'll just kind of dive in, beginning with your vocabulario related to la vida diaria, again, or daily life. We all very much so care about one thing, and that is la higiene personal, or personal hygiene. It's something that is important to everyone. So some verbs that you see in this chapter related to la higiene personal, we see afeitarse, which is to shave oneself. Literally, the se on the end just means you're doing it to yourself. You already know how regular infinitives work, or verbs that end in ar, er, and ir. So really, the only thing that's different is that you have some new vocab words and they all end in se. That's just because you're doing it to yourself. And we'll talk about how to conjugate that se in a little bit. But afeitarse, to shave oneself. Bañarse, to bathe oneself, or you might say to take a bath. Cepillarse el pelo is to brush one's hair. Just swap out the pelo for dientes, and you're now brushing your teeth. So, cepillarse el pelo, brushing one's hair. Cepillarse los dientes, brushing one's teeth. Ducharse is to shower oneself. Ducharse. We also have the verb lavar, which by itself means to wash. When you add the se, you're washing yourself. So you could lavarse la cara, to wash one's face, or lavarse las manos, to wash one's hands. A couple other verbs you see here are maquillarse, to put makeup on, literally to make up oneself, maquillarse. Peinarse, to comb one's hair, peinarse. And then just some general other words that we see in this chapter. We have el baño, the bathroom, el champú, the shampoo, la crema de afeitar, the cream of shaving, or shaving cream, la crema de afeitar, el maquillaje, the makeup, and then finally la toalla, the towel. We also see here in the middle a photo of jabón. Jabón is soap. Be careful not to be confused with jamón with an M, which means ham. Very different things. Jabón and jamón. Over here we see Isabel, and it tells us that Isabel se lava las manos. She's washing her hands. Se lava las manos. Notice there's a se because she is washing her own hands. Raúl se ducha. He is showering himself. Raúl se ducha. So let's just take a moment, let you practice these words. So I'll say them, and I would like for you just to repeat them with me, por favor. So here we go. Afeitarse, bañarse, cepillarse el pelo, cepillarse los dientes, ducharse, lavarse la cara, lavarse las manos, maquillarse, peinarse, el baño, el champú, la crema de afeitar, el maquillaje, la toalla, el jabón. Awesome. So just a couple more illustrations here of how those reflexive verbs can be used. We see that Paula se cepilla los dientes. Or literally, Paula is brushing her teeth. Paula, she herself brushes the teeth. Daniel se afeita. Daniel is shaving himself. Daniel se afeita. You could even add, Daniel se afeita la cara. He's shaving his face. Se afeita la cara. A few more examples. Adriana se baña. Or Adriana is bathing herself. She is taking a bath. Sofía se duerme. Sofía is falling asleep. She herself is falling asleep. Se duerme. Some other words that we see here in this chapter, and here's another example. Jorge se levanta. He's getting up. Se levanta. Notice there is a difference in getting up and waking up. We have two different verbs for that in Spanish. So I don't know about you. I put a picture of Alexa here because Alexa es mi despertador. She's my alarm clock, mi despertador. And for me, at least, there's a difference in waking up and getting up, okay? So I might wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, but I might not get up until 6, right? There's a difference. Some of you like to hit the snooze button in your despertador, whatever it might be. But so we have the verb levantarse, which is to get up, and then despertarse, which is to wake up. We also have two different verbs for to go to bed versus to go to sleep. So again, maybe you go to bed, acostarse a las 10. You get in bed, you lie down at 10, acostarse a las 10. But maybe you don't dormirse until a la medianoche or whatever. You don't go to sleep until midnight. So be careful there. Maybe you're TikToking on your phone after you acostarse and then you dormirse. So just some differences. So let's just kind of say these together. Repitan, acostarse. Very good. Acostarse is to lie down, to go to bed. It does have a stem change from O to UE. Repitan, despertarse. Very good. Despertarse is to wake up. It does have a stem change from E to IE. Repitan, dormirse. Good. Dormirse is to go to sleep or to fall asleep. It does have a stem change from O to UE. Repitan, levantarse. Awesome. Levantarse is to get up. And then one more. Repitan, vestirse. Awesome. Vestirse is to get dressed. And vestirse does have a stem change from E to I. As you keep looking over on the left, we talk about la rutina diaria, or your daily routine. Some words you may use as you describe your own daily routine in Espanol. We have antes de, or before. Después, afterward, or then. Después de, which just means after. Durante, during. Entonces, then. Luego, which also means then or afterward. Más tarde, later or later on. Por la mañana, in the morning. Por la noche, at night. Or por la tarde, in the afternoon or in the evening. Por último, finally. Siempre, always. También, also, or too. And temprano, early. Finally, over on the right, you see a photo of a mirror. In Espanol, we call this an espejo. Espejo. All right, so these are just some various words for you to practice, to add your vocab. Of course, I know you're going to spend some time with your flashcards, but I always like to just give you kind of a brief introduction. So let's take this and try to apply it just a little bit. So it tells you to ordena, or order, la rutina de Francisco de una manera lógica. So let's put Francisco's routine in a logical sequence, a logical manner. So I'm going to get us started here. You do kind of have to read all of these and know what they mean, and then you can classify them in order. But let's just kind of start with number one, which is letter F. It tells us, por la mañana, in the morning, Francisco se despierta a las 6:30. Francisco wakes up a las 6:30. We know that waking up is generally the first thing that happens for all of us as we begin our day. So we're going to begin there with numero uno. Before we classify the others into chronological order, let's take a moment and translate what they mean. So we'll start up here at the top at letter A. Después de afeitarse, cepillarse los dientes y vestirse, sale para las clases. So after after shaving himself, he brushes his teeth, he gets dressed, and he goes to class. Letra B. Por último, finally, hey, there's a clue. Por último, finally, se acuesta a las 11:30 de la noche. So finally, he goes to bed. He lies down, gets in bed, I should say, a las 11:30 de la noche. Letra C. Se ducha y luego se afeita. So he showers and then he shaves. Letra D. Por la noche come un poco. At night he eats a little bit. Y luego then estudia antes de acostarse. And then he studies before he lies down. Letter E. Asiste a todas sus clases y vuelve a casa por la tarde. So he attends all of his classes and he returns home in the afternoon. Okay, so now that we have this information, let's take it and put it in chronological order. So number one, por la mañana, Francisco se despierta a las 6:30. He gets up at 6:30. All right, let's see what's happening next. Well, what do you think? He gets up at 6:30. What's he do next? Yeah, it makes sense to me to say that next, se ducha, he showers, y luego se afeita. He showers and then he shaves his face. Okay, we have a little clue for our next one. Yeah, después de afeitarse. After he shaves, he brushes his teeth and gets dressed, and he leaves for his classes. So después de afeitarse, cepillarse los dientes y vestirse. We knew to go there because if number two was letter C, he shaves, then we need, after shaving. Después de afeitarse, kind of clued us in. And then you can logically order the rest of them. Letra E, asiste a todas sus clases y vuelve a la casa por la tarde. So then he attends his classes and comes home in the afternoon. Letter D, por la noche, come un poco. At night he eats a little, and then he studies a little bit. Luego estudia antes de acostarse, before he goes to bed. And finally, por último, se acuesta a las 11:30 de la noche. He goes to bed at 11:30 at night. So you got a nice little introduction here to your vocab. Let's do one more activity to practice these, and we're going to bring back some old vocab words as well with some clothing here. So again, in a normal class, I say normal, in a face-to-face class, I would have you turn to a partner and practice speaking in Spanish in this activity. But here, I'm going to be student one, I'll let you be student two. So estudiante uno, we're given Miguel, a person's name, Michael, Miguel, and vestirse, to get dressed. So estudiante uno, we ask you, well, ¿qué necesita Miguel para vestirse? What does Miguel need to do these things? So we're always going to kind of be asking that question. ¿Qué necesita whoever para whatever? So, ¿qué necesita Miguel para vestirse? What does he need to get dressed? Well, we can see here he needs a t-shirt and he needs some pants. So, Miguel necesita una camiseta y unos pantalones. Just kind of throwing back that old vocab. Let's do another one. In número uno, we see another name. We've given Diego, and the verb is acostarse, to lie down. Well, what does Diego need to lie down? That might be our question. So, estudiante uno, ¿qué necesita Diego para acostarse? What does Diego need in order to lie down? Well, obviously he needs a bed. So we'd say that Diego necesita una cama. Una cama. Okay, amigos, I'd like for you guys to try número dos. We're given Raúl y despertarse. So I'm going to ask you the question. What does Raúl need in order to despertarse, in order to wake up? So I'm estudiante uno. ¿Qué necesita Raúl para despertarse? And you're going to tell me that. Muy bien. Raúl necesita el despertador. O for Señor H, Raúl necesita Alexa. Okay, excelente. She heard me say that. Okay, número tres. We're talking about Mercedes. And Mercedes is given lavarse la cara. So I'd like for you guys to go through and give this one a try. Again, I'll be estudiante uno. ¿Qué necesita Mercedes para lavarse la cara? What does she need to wash her face? And you're going to tell me that. Very good. Mercedes necesita jabón y una toalla. She needs some soap and a towel. Jabón y una toalla. All right, you guys are doing splendid so far. So let's keep rolling. As we move into Gramática 7.1, our first grammar point, titled Reflexive Verbs or Verbos Reflexivos. I kind of alluded to this earlier in the video, but essentially a reflexive verb is just something that you do to yourself. And reflexive verbs in Spanish always end in se. Always end in se. So we are given an example here with Carlos. And we're given the verb afeitarse, to shave oneself. So basically, we've just conjugated afeitar like we would any other present tense verb. We chopped off our AR, we added back an A to say that he shaves. Carlos afeita. And then we need to insert our reflexive pronoun to say he's shaving himself. So Carlos se afeita todos los días. He shaves every day. So in this case, we know that he's shaving himself, so we put the se on the front. Now let's say like he has some kind of cool dog that he has to like trim its fur every year. So we would say Carlos afeita a su perro. In that case, there's no se because he's not shaving himself, he's shaving his dog. So be careful. There's only a se if it's something you're physically doing to yourself. And let's just kind of talk about how to conjugate. So one of the verbs in this chapter is cepillarse, which literally means to brush oneself. We used this earlier with cepillarse el pelo, to brush one's hair, or cepillarse los dientes, to brush one's teeth. In this case, cepillarse is conjugated. My students like to joke that instead of taking off the AR, you have to take off the whole arse in this case. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start by chopping off our AR. We're going to carry down our stem, the cepilla, in all of our boxes. We know that we're going to move our se to the front. Okay, it's gonna do its own thing. We're going to add our normal AR endings for the present tense. So cepillo, I brush. Cepillas, you brush. Cepilla, he or she brushes. Cepillamos, we brush. Cepilláis, you all in Spain brush. And cepillan, they brush. Now, this is in the present tense. That doesn't mean that you can't conjugate it in the preterite. We just did it in this case. But you could say like cepillé, I brushed. Cepillaste, you brushed. Cepilló, he or she brushed. So on and so forth. Like that's totally okay. But for now, we're just focusing on the present tense. When we move our se to the front, we have to actually conjugate it. It becomes me, te, se, nos, os, or se. So these are your various conjugations for reflexive verbs. So me, I'm doing it to myself. Te, you're doing it to yourself. Se, he or she is doing it to him or herself. Nos, we're doing it to ourselves. Os, you all in Spain are doing it to yourselves. And se, they are doing it to themselves, or y'all are doing it to yourselves. Okay, those are your various conjugations. I want to try one more. Where these begin to get a little bit tricky is with the verb acostarse, or really any verb that has a stem change. So on your vocab sheet earlier, we told you that acostarse had a stem change from O to UE. So in this case, that is true. Our O is going to change to a UE. But when you think about stem changes in the present tense, you may remember that it only changes in a certain place. That's right, it only changes when it's in the boot. So we're going to chop off our AR like we always do. We're going to carry down our stem, but we're going to change our O to a UE when it's inside the boot, which is basically everywhere except for the nosotros and the vosotros. So we've done that. We've changed our O to a UE. Next, given that acostarse is an AR verb, we're going to slap our endings on the end. Acuesto, acuestas, acuesta, acostamos, acostáis, and acuestan. Next, we're going to take care of that se, moving that puppy to the front and changing it to agree with the subject. So, me acuesto, I go to bed. Te acuestas, you go to bed. Se acuesta, he or she goes to bed. Nos acostamos, we go to bed. Os acostáis, you all in Spain go to bed. And se acuestan, they go to bed. So these are your various acostarse conjugations. So one other thing to notice is where you place this se. The safest thing to do, the easiest thing to do, is to place it in front of your conjugated verb. So José se levanta temprano. He gets up early. So in this case, we moved our se over in front of levanta. He gets up early. It was in front of our conjugated verb. It's also possible that you can attach it to your infinitive. So José va a levantarse temprano. He's going to get up early. Again, you could put it in front of your conjugated verb. José se va a levantar temprano. Or you can place it attached to your infinitive. José va a levantarse temprano. It's totally a personal preference. Your other option is to attach it to a participle, like say a gerund. Carlos está afeitándose. He is shaving himself. Afeitándose. It's also okay just to place it in front of the conjugated verb. Carlos se está afeitando. It's totally personal preference, and whichever one you like most is totally okay. You just pick the one you like. One other thing to note, this is very weird. In English, we say, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm combing my hair, etc. I'm putting on my shoes. But in Espanol, when we have a reflexive verb, we always use the definite article, aka the word the. We use el, la, los, or las in order to describe these things. So it tells us that la niña se quitó los zapatos. The girl took off her shoes. So she herself took off her shoes. In this case, the los, um, instead of saying her shoes, we literally say she took off the shoes. She took off the shoes. Me cepillé los dientes. We translate this as I brushed my teeth, but literally I brushed the teeth. I myself brushed the teeth. Me cepillé los dientes. We do this with all body parts in Espanol. It's never mis dientes or mis zapatos. Always los dientes, los zapatos, la cara, etc. So just keep that in mind. A little kind of tidbit that's different from English. And there's truthfully not a good reason why this happens. We just use the definite article. Some common reflexive verbs. Many of these are already in your vocab list, but I just wanted to sort of bring them to your attention. Acordarse is to remember. Acostarse, to go to bed. Afeitarse, to shave oneself. Bañarse, to take a bath. Cepillarse, to brush. Despertarse, to wake up. Dormirse, to go to sleep. Ducharse, to shower. Enojarse, to get angry with. Irse, to go away or to leave. Lavarse, to wash oneself. Levantarse, to get up. Llamarse, to be named, like when you say me llamo, that's literally a reflexive verb. Maquillarse, to put on makeup. Peinarse, to comb one's hair. Ponerse, to become or to put on. Preocuparse, to worry about. Probarse, to try on, like clothing. Probarse la ropa. Quedarse, to stay. Quitarse, to take off. Sentarse, to sit down. Sentirse, to feel. And finally, vestirse, to get dressed. Of course, all of these are on your vocab sheet, and I know you will study them, but I just wanted to bring them to your attention as well in case you recognize them in just a moment. Now, one last thing, and I briefly mentioned this, we only put the se in front if it is reflexive, aka if you're doing something to yourself. So once students learn reflexive verbs, they want to put a say like on everything. Don't do that, okay? It's only if you're doing things to yourself. So for example, Lola lava los platos. Lola washes the dishes. She's not washing herself. She's not in the shower washing her arm. She is washing the dishes. So there's no se there. Lola lava los platos. She's washing the dishes. But Isabel se lava la cara. Isabel is washing her face. It is her own face, and she is indeed washing it by herself. So there is a se. Just be careful there. There are also some that change meaning with and without the se. So for example, levantarse was to get up, literally to get up oneself or to lift oneself. But by itself, without the se, levantar is just to lift. You're not lifting yourself, you're just lifting, like maybe levantar pesas, lifting some weights at the gym. I don't do that nearly often enough. We also have acordarse, to remember, whereas acordar by itself is to agree. So just be careful. The meaning will change depending on whether or not the se is present for some of these. All right, so it's time for you to practice a little bit. We have Alejandro here, who obviously appears to be shaving himself. So we need to take that verb afeitarse. We're going to conjugate it by chopping off our AR and adding an A. Alejandro afeita, he shaves. And he's shaving himself. Alejandro se afeita. Notice my se goes in front of my conjugated verb. Let's try another one. In numero uno, we talk about Rosa. And it appears that Rosa is putting on her makeup. So we want to take that verb maquillarse, to make up oneself. We want to conjugate it. So we chop off our AR and maquillar. We add back an A, maquilla. She puts on makeup. And she puts it on herself. Rosa se maquilla. She's putting makeup on herself. Se maquilla. All right, I want you to take a moment with the photos. In numero dos, it appears that Natalia is taking a bath. Número tres, Carlos is washing his hands. Número cuatro, Julia is brushing her hair. Número cinco, María Elena is brushing her teeth. And número seis, Nicolás is taking a shower. So take a moment and give all of these a try. When you're ready, you can unmute your audio. We'll see how you did. All right, so número dos, we're talking about Natalia. It appears she's bathing, so we took the verb bañarse, we conjugated it by chopping off the AR and adding back an A, and we placed a se in front. Natalia se baña, she is bathing herself. Now, you might have said she's washing her hair, because I kind of get that vibe as well here. So we could say, Natalia se lava el pelo, literally from the verb lavarse, just conjugating saying that she washes herself the hair. Se lava el pelo. Notice it's el pelo, the hair, and not su pelo, her hair. All right, número tres, talking about Carlos. It appears that Carlos is washing his hands. So we took the verb lavarse, las manos, to wash one's hands, and we conjugated it. We said Carlos se lava las manos. Número cuatro, talking about Julia. It appears that Julia is brushing her hair. So we know that to brush is cepillarse. To say that she herself is brushing, we took off our AR and cepillar, and we said that Julia se cepilla el pelo. Same thing in number five with Maria Elena, except instead of el pelo, Maria Elena se cepilla los dientes. She's brushing her teeth. And finally, Nicolás looks like he's having a great shower there. We can say that Nicolás, we're going to take our verb ducharse, to shower oneself. We're going to move our se to the front and say that Nicolás se ducha, se ducha. He takes a shower. All right, one more little practice activity with reflexive verbs. And I kind of snuck in a few here that are not reflexive, so be careful. Remember, if you're doing it to yourself, it's going to be reflexive. You're going to have a se. You're not doing it to yourself, it's not reflexive. You do not need a se. So for example, we have tú lavar los platos ayer. You and to wash the dishes yesterday. Well, you're not washing yourself, so we know in this case that we do not need a se. So we took the plain old verb lavar. We're asking if you did it yesterday. Yeah, so that's a past tense, preterite. So we chopped off our AR in lavar, and we added lavaste. Lavaste, did you wash? Número dos, Tomás answers Mario and says, sí, los blank después de las clases. Yes, I washed them after classes. Well, again, he's not washing himself after classes. He's washing the dishes, washing them. So he said, sí, los lavé. I washed them. Okay, so I would like for you guys to try the rest of the conversation, numbers 3 through 9, on your own, and take a moment to pause, work these out, and when you are ready, we will come back and give these a try. So let me know whenever you're ready. You can just pick back up. All right, número tres, talking about Beatriz. We ask if normalmente duchar o ducharse antes de ir a la clase. So normally, do you shower before going to class? Well, you are showering yourself after all, so we know it should be reflexive. We need ducharse. However, we need to conjugate it to agree with tú. So we're going to chop off our AR in duchar. We're asking, did you shower? So in the present tense, or do you shower in the present tense? So we're going to add back an AS, duchas. We're asking, do you shower yourself? We want to take our se and move it to the front. It becomes te. So normalmente te duchas antes de ir a clases. Do you normally shower before you go to class? And David says, sí, ducharse por la mañana. Yeah, I shower in the morning. So again, we're going to take ducharse. We're going to change our se to me, because David is saying that he is showering himself. So sí, me. We take duchar, chop off our AR, and sí, me ducho por la mañana. I shower myself in the morning. Okay, número cinco. Pablo is talking to his mama, and the mama says, niños, ¿a qué hora acostarse ustedes anoche? So children, what time did you all go to bed last night? So again, we're going back to the preterite. What time did y'all go to bed last night? We're going to take acostarse because it's reflexive. They themselves are going to bed. And in this case, technically, since it says last night, instead of acuestan, we should use the preterite and say, ¿a qué hora se acostaron ustedes anoche? What time did y'all go to bed last night? Acostaron. And Pablo responds and says that Daniela acostarse a las 9, pero nosotros acostarse a las 8. So Daniela, she went to bed. We're going to say that Daniela And instead of the present tense, acostó, she went to bed. Notice there is no stem change whenever we are in the preterite because it's an AR verb, right, from last chapter. So, número cinco, a qué hora acostaron, whereas in the present tense we would have acuestan, as you saw a second ago. Número seis, Daniela, she went to bed, se acostó, with an O in this case, again, because there's no stem change and it's the past tense. And number seven, we went to bed at 8, nos acostamos, acostamos. Again, we're keeping it as an O because it's the preterite and there is no stem change in the preterite. And notice it is identical to the present tense there, nos acostamos. All right, let's keep rolling. Last one. Ana, she says, yo sentir o sentirse nerviosa hoy. So I too feel nervous today. And Patricia says, well, tú siempre sentir nerviosa antes de un examen. You always feel nervous before an exam. So just to clarify, this one is in the present tense because it says hoy. I will do a better job of reading these next time. But this actually says hoy, so it is present instead of preterite. And I feel nervous today. So we know that sentirse is a reflexive verb. She herself feels nervous. We also know that it has a stem change from E to IE. So we're going to take that E and change it to an IE. We're going to chop off our IR in sentir and then back in O. So I feel, siento. But we still need to take care of that se. So to say that I feel, we're going to take our se, we move it to the front, and it changes to me. So me siento nerviosa hoy. And Patricia says, well, you always feel nervous before an exam. Tú siempre sentirse nerviosa. Again, we're going to take our se, move it to the front. It's changing to te, in this case, talking about you. So te, we know sentirse has a stem change from E to IE. So te sientes. Te sientes nerviosa antes de un examen. All right, you guys are doing great. One last little practice activity with reflexive verbs, and this is mostly just purely about conjugating to make sure you have that part down. On the left, you're given the verb despertarse, to wake up. On the right, the verb ponerse, or to put on. And you're just conjugating. So número uno, we have ellos despertarse tarde, they to wake up late. We took despertarse, which we knew had a stem change, from E to IE. So we changed that here, or E to an IE. We chopped off our AR in despertar. We were saying that they wake up, so we added an AN. And then our se moved to the front. Ellos se despiertan tarde. Same thing over here with ponerse. Ella ponerse los pantalones. She puts on her pants. We know that ponerse is reflexive. We're going to take our se and we move it to the front. Ella se poner. We're going to chop off our ER and add back an E. Ella se pone los pantalones. All right, I'd like for you guys to give a couple of these a try. We'll do just one more example. In número dos, we have tú and tarde. You and to wake up late. So in this case, again, despertarse, we're going to change our E to an IE for our stem change. Chop off our AR. We're saying that you wake up late. So we end up with despiertas. We also want to move our se to the front. Talking about you waking up late, our se is going to change to te, and we should have that te despiertas. Same thing in number two on the other side with ponerse. We're given I put on my pants in this case. So ponerse, my se is going to change to me since I'm putting my pants on myself. Poner, we know has an irregular form in the yo form. It becomes pongo. So me pongo los pantalones. I put on my pants. Okay, I'd like for you now to pause your audio. Please give numbers 3 through 6 a try on both sides, and I'm going to let you check your answers. All right, let's see how you did. So in número 3, we're given that nos despertamos tarde. We wake up late. Now, I really emphasize despertar, stem change, iraí, right? Well, be careful. In the present tense, remember it only stem changes in the boot. So in this case, there is no e to ie because we are not in the boot in the nosotros form. So nosotros nos despertamos tarde. So we wake up late. All the others do have your stem change from e to ie. You're just chopping off your ending and adding the appropriate ending, and then making your reflexive pronoun in front agree. So Antonio se despierta. He wakes up late. Yo me despierto. I wake up late. And ustedes se despiertan tarde. You all wake up late. Same thing on the other side. Usted se pone los pantalones. You put on your own pants. Se, bottom left box, became in agreement with usted. Nosotros nos ponemos. We put on our pants. Número 5. Las niñas se ponen los pantalones. They put on their pants. And tú te pones los pantalones. You put on your pants. Again, just making that reflexive pronoun agree, chopping off your AR, ER, putting those endings on, and then accounting for any stem change if necessary. All right, I hope you're beginning to feel better about reflexive verbs. Next, we're going to segue into Gramática 7.2, where we discuss indefinite and negative words. We use these all the time in English. These are things like someone, something, no one, nothing, either or, neither nor. We use these a lot. So the only reason it's weird in Spanish is because there's sort of like a method to the madness in terms of whether you get to use a positive or a negative word. And before we get into those details, let's first just make sure you know what these words mean, and that will make using them in context a lot easier. So we start with the word algo. Algo means something or anything. And we're going to contrast that with the opposite of something, which is nothing, or in Espanol, nada. So algo, something, anything, nada, nothing, or not anything. Same thing, we have someone or anyone, somebody, depending on how you pronounce that. Alguien, alguien, someone, somebody, anyone. We have the opposite of that, nadie, no one, nobody, not anyone. So algo, something, nada, nothing. Alguien, someone, nadie, no one. You're kind of seeing a pattern so far. We also have alguno, or algún, or algunos, or algunas, all of which means some or any. They just have to agree. So alguno, alguna, any. Algunos, algunas, some. You also have the negative form. Ningún, ninguno, ninguna, ningunos, ningunas, none, or not any. We have o, which means either or. So me gusta o manzanas o bananas. I like either apples or bananas. O. We have the opposite of that, which is ni. I always tell my students in Espanol we can ni, but we can't nene. So we have ni, which means neither nor. Ni. Nunca, which is never. You may be familiar with the song, we are nunca, nunca, nunca getting back together, right? So nunca, never. Another word for not ever is jamás. Jamás, not ever. Nunca. And then finally we have tampoco, which means neither or not either. Also, the opposite of tampoco is not listed on the other side of the chart. It's a word you already know from Spanish 1, but the word también means also. And también and tampoco are technically also opposites. Same thing with nunca. Nunca means never, and technically the opposite of never is always or siempre. I guess your book chose not to list those just because you already knew them, but I think it's important to note the opposite of nunca, never, is always, siempre, and the opposite of tampoco, neither, is también, also. So just keep those in your brain. So here are some examples. As far as where you place these in your sentence, you have two options. Your easiest way, in my opinion, is just to place them before your verb. So nadie piensa en mí. Nobody thinks about me. Ellos nunca se enojan. They never get angry. To me, this seems natural because it's the same place that we place it in English. No one thinks about me. Nadie piensa. They never get mad. Ellos nunca se enojan. Same place. So to me, that makes the most sense. However, you do have another option if you don't like doing it that way. In orange, you also see option number 2, which is essentially you put a no before your verb, and then you put your negative word after the verb. So instead of nadie piensa en mí, we say no piensa nadie en mí. Literally, no thinks no one in me. Or no se enoja nunca. no, they get mad never, right? So you can do whichever one you like. I personally prefer to put it in front of the verb, but just so you know, you got two options. No, nadie piensa en mí or no piensa nadie en mí. So you get to choose. You'll see them both ways on your examen, but as far as your own writing, when you do your compositions and things of that nature, your flip grids, you get to choose which way you like to answer. Um, this is the part that really throws most English speakers for a loop because from the very, very beginning of your education in first grade, you were told we are not allowed to use double negatives in English. We don't say she doesn't have no idea. We say she doesn't have any idea. We don't say I never ask you for nothing. We say I never ask you for anything, right? So it's ingrained in your brain to do that, to not use double negatives. But in Spanish, you actually have to use a double negative. Once there is a no in your sentence, the negative must continue. So, for example, ella no tiene ninguna idea. Literally, we say she doesn't have not any idea. She doesn't have no idea. Now, even though in English we translate that to say she doesn't have any idea, because there is a no in front of your verb, in front of tiene, you must use a negative word in your sentence. You cannot say no tiene alguna idea. It has to be ninguna since there's a negative. Sending in the next one. Nunca te pido nada. Literally, I never ask you for nothing. You can't say nunca te pido algo because there's already a negative in your sentence with nunca. So therefore, you must use the negative again later on as well. Um, so basically, in summary, once a sentence is negative, all the other words, all the other indefinite words in the sentence also have to be negative, regardless of how we translate. Um, So let's look at a couple of examples. One other thing to note, sentences that actually use the word no can have a second negative, either immediately after the verb or it can be at the end of the sentence. So here's an example of a positive and a negative together. It tells us that María conoce a alguien en la fiesta también. I always tell my students to think about these as math problems. I think it helps like clarify. So find your verb. Your verb always functions as your equal sign. In this case, my verb is conoce. Maria knows someone in the party also. So she knows. Knowing is my verb. It's positive. And she knows someone at the party. So in this case, since conoce was positive, all my other words in the sentence are going to be positive. She knows someone also. But if we throw a no in front of my verb, now instead of conoce, we say no conoce. She doesn't know. And because we have a no and our verb is negative, we must use negative words in the rest of the sentence. So literally, she doesn't know no one at the party neither. Yes, it pained me to say that inside, but that's correct. She didn't know nobody at the party neither. Notice, since conoce was negative, nadie was negative, and tampoco was negative. Okay, so sometimes it helps for students to think about it as a math problem. What happens on one side of the equal sign also has to happen on the other side of the equal sign. Positive, positive, negative, negative. So you have those there as well. Um, One other quick note. The words alguien and nadie, someone and no one, are often used with the personal a. Remember, we use the personal a when you're talking about people. It's also used before alguno, algunos, and ninguno, ningunas when these words refer to people. So basically, you're using your personal I with the ones to talk about people, right? So here's an example. Carlos, ¿ves a alguien allí? Carlos, do you see someone there? Notice after ves and before alguien, we have the personal I. And Carlos says, no, no veo a nadie. I don't see literally no one. So we use the word no one because there was a no in front of my verb. No veo a nadie. And we have the personal a because what follows is a person. And one more example. Oyes a alguno de los chicos. Do you hear any of the boys? Oyes a alguno de los chicos. And he says, no, no oigo a ninguno. I don't hear any of them. Literally, I don't hear none of them. We used the negative word here because we had a no in front of our verb. And both of these have the personal a because what follows is a person, someone or no one in this case. So I hope that this is beginning to make sense for you. I know these can be challenging. One last thing. When The words alguno and ninguno, some or none, when those appear in front of a noun that is masculine or singular, then we shorten it by removing the O. It becomes algún and ningún, and we add accents on the U. Again, this is only when these words appear in front of a masculine singular noun. So for examples, ¿Tienen ustedes algún amigo peruano? Do you all have any Peruvian friend? Algún amigo peruano. So alguno appeared in front of amigo, which was a masculine singular word. So we chopped off our O and we added a U on algún. Same thing here. ¿Visitaste algún museo? Did you visit any museum? We took alguno, which was in front of museo, a masculine singular noun. We chopped off our O and alguno and added a U. Algún. The same is true for ningún. No, no tenemos ningún amigo peruano. No, no visité ningún museo. Same thing there, happening. All right, so it's time for you to practice. I know I've been talking a lot, so I want to give you a moment to practice what we've been learning. Again, using these positive and negative words. Let's look at an example. Alfonso y Ana María are speaking, and Alfonso says, Ana María, ¿encontraste algún regalo para Elena? Ana María, did you find any present for Elena? And she's trying to respond. I can say, no, I didn't find any present. So she says, no, no encontré, I did not find. And in front of regalo, she used the word ningún. I didn't find literally no present. Or you could just say, no encontré nada. I didn't find nothing for Elena. In either case, instead of any present or anything, we do have to say no present or nothing because encontré is my verb and no, there's a negative in front. So it must be a negative word elsewhere in the sentence. Let's do another example. Alfonso and Ana María continue their conversation. And Alfonso asks, well, ¿viste alguna amiga en el centro comercial? So Alfonso, did you see any friend at the mall? And Ana María says, no, I didn't see any friend. So no, no vi, I did not see. And in front of amiga, we need a negative word. No vi a ninguna amiga en el centro comercial. Now, you could also shorten even further, say I didn't see anybody, or literally I didn't see nobody. No vi a nadie en el centro comercial. That would also be fine. All right, I want you to pause your audio, give this last one a try. Alfonso and Ana María are speaking, and I want you to try checking your answers on this last one. All right, our final option. Alfonso asks, well, Ana María, ¿quieres ir al teatro o al cine esta noche? Ana María, do you want to go to the theater or to the movies this night, literally tonight? And Ana María is going to respond always in the negative. No, I don't want to go either to the theater or to the movies. I want to go to neither nor. So we start with the negative in front of our verb. No quiero, I don't want to. So no quiero ir ni al teatro, neither to the theater, ni al cine, nor to the movies. I think the trick here is finding your verb, determining if there's a negative in front of your verb, and then figuring out if it has to be positive or negative afterward. Just remember not to mix those. You can't have a positive verb and then negative words afterward. It's got to be negative, negative, or positive, positive. Okay. I want to give you just a little bit more practice with these because I do know they are challenging. So I try to give you 3 more here. We ask you if quieres salir a comer. Do you want to go out to eat? Hay algo interesante en la televisión esta noche. Is there something interesting on TV tonight? And tienes algún problema? Do you have any problem? And notice the word problema is masculine singular. That's why it's algún. So I want you to pause your audio again, give these a try, and we'll let you check your answers one more time. All right, so Alfonso asks, ¿Quieres salir a comer? Do you want to go out to eat? And Ana María says back, no, I don't want to go out to eat. And there's not really any kind of indefinite or negative word. No, I don't want to go out to eat. No quiero salir a comer. So you can also throw a tampoco in there. I don't want to go out to eat either. No quiero salir a comer tampoco. Tampoco. In our second option, número 5, Alfonso asks, well, ¿hay algo interesante en la televisión esta noche? Is there something interesting on TV tonight? And Ana María says back, no, there's nothing interesting on TV tonight. So basically, we take our verb I, we insert a no in front. There is not, no I. And instead of algo, there's nothing. No hay nada interesante en la televisión esta noche. Our last one, we ask if tienes algún problema? Do you have any problem? No, I don't have any problem. No, no tengo ningún problema. Again, we have a no in front of our verb in front of tengo. So ningún has to be a negative word. And we knew that problema, even though it ends in an A, it is one of those irregular words in Spanish. It's el problema instead of la problema. So it's masculine and it's singular. We took ninguno, chopped off our O, and inserted an accent on the U. So no, no tengo ningún problema. All right. One more time, mixing these together. You're going to insert any of these positive or negative words we've been discussing into the sentences here to make the most logical statement. So it tells us in número uno, siempre se viste bien. And you inserted nunca. Nunca se viste bien. They never dress well. So we went from they always dress well to they never dress well. Again, you're just kind of contradicting here. Número dos says, alguien se ducha. Someone is showering. And we have blank se ducha blank. So remember, you have two options. You can place these in front of your verb like we've been doing, nunca se viste, or you can use the no and have the negative word come after. So instead of someone is showering, we want to use the opposite of that. We want to say no one is showering. No se ducha nadie. Now, would it be okay to just say nadie se ducha? Absolutely. Just showing you both options, the no in front and the negative word after your verb, or just leave out the no and put the negative word in front. Nadie se ducha. No one is showering. Okay, I'd like for you to pause one more time, give números 3, 4, y 5 a try, and let's see how you do. All right, número 3. Ellas van también. They're going also. Ellas blank van. So instead of they're going also, they're not going either. They're not going either. So the opposite of también was tampoco. Ellas tampoco van. They're not going either. Número 4. Juan también se afeita. Juan also is shaving himself. So instead of also, he is not shaving himself either. The opposite of también was tampoco. Juan tampoco se afeita. He's not shaving himself either. And finally, número 5. Alguien se pone nervioso. Somebody is getting nervous. We want to flip to the opposite there. Instead of someone is getting nervous, we want to say no one is getting nervous. And the structure here with two blanks requires us to put a no in front of our verb and then to put your negative word afterwards. So, no se pone nervioso nadie. Would it be okay to just say nadie se pone nervioso? Absolutely. Totally up to you there which one you choose. All right, so this will wrap up our discussion on indefinite and negative words. There's two more that are included in your text. These words are pero and sino. And these didn't really fit into the other category very well, so I made them just like a separate slide of their own. Basically, I love these, by the way. I use these words all the time in Spanish, but these are two conjunctions, pero and sino. Pero, you already know. Pero means but. And sino, in some cases, means but they're not always interchangeable. So basically, in these situations, sino is going to mean but rather, or on the contrary. And a great example here, we see the first sentence, no se acuesta temprano, sino tarde. So he doesn't go to bed early, but rather he goes to bed late. Contrast that with the use of pero in the second example. Canto, pero nunca en público. I sing, but never in public. It would sound a little strange to say I sing, but rather never in public, right? I sing, but never in public. Canto, pero nunca en público. So the grammar rule about this, if you're ever confused on which one to use, is that sino is used when the first part of a sentence is negative and the second part contradicts it. So if you notice over here, we use sino because there was a negative, and then the second part of your sentence was contradicting. We did not use sino here because canto was not negative. There wasn't a no in front. Let's see another example. No queremos irnos. We don't want to go. sino quedarnos. We don't want to go, but rather we want to stay. So the first part of our sentence was negative, and the second part contradicted, so we used a no. Another example. Me desperté a las 11, pero estoy cansada. I got up at 11, but I'm tired. It would sound weird to say I got up at 11, but rather I'm tired. I got up at 11, but I'm tired. There was not a negative in the beginning of my sentence that was contradicting what was said afterward in the second clause, so we used pero instead of sino. So basically, pero means but, sino means but rather. Here are a few examples for you. Mi abuela es aburrida. That's rude. My grandma is boring, but amable, but kind. We didn't say she is boring, but rather kind. We said she's boring, but kind, pero amable. Another example, número uno. No me ducho por la mañana, blank por la noche. I don't shower in the morning, blank at night. So does it make more sense to say, I don't shower in the morning but at night, or I don't shower in the morning but rather at night? Yeah, but rather sounds better here because we use sino. Also, if reading it and picking between them doesn't help, remember to think about your grammar rule. There was a no in the first part of my sentence, and the second part contradicted it. So I used sino instead of pero. Let's try another example. Número dos. A mí no me gusta nadar, blank correr. I don't like to swim, blank to run. I don't like to swim, but to run. I don't like to swim, but rather to run. In this case, sino, but rather sounds better. Again, think about your grammar rules. You have a no in the first part of your clause, and then in the second part, you have something that contradicts the first clause. So we use sino instead of pero. Okay, so amigos, now that you've had a moment to think about these, I want you to pause your audio one more time. Practice numbers 3 through 7. When you're ready, you can unpause, and we'll take a look at these one by one. Okay, so in número 3, mi hermana María Luisa es alta. My sister María Luisa is tall, blank delgada. She's tall, blank thin. Well, she's tall but thin, pero delgada. Mi hermano Emilia no es moreno, blank rubio. My brother Emilio is not dark-headed, blank blonde. So he's not dark-headed, but blonde, or but rather he's blonde. Makes more sense to say but rather here, so we use sino. Again, you had a no in your first clause, so it made more sense here, since the second clause is contradicting, to use sino instead of pero. Número 5. Mis padres no se acuestan temprano, blank tarde. My parents don't go to bed early, blank late. They don't go to bed early, but rather late, sino tarde. Número 6. Mi primo Manuel es inteligente, blank no es interesante. So my cousin Manuel is intelligent, blank he's not interesting. He's intelligent, but he's not interesting, pero. Número 7. Mi madre y yo siempre nos despertamos temprano. Blank, nunca estamos cansadas. So my mom and I always get up early. Blank, we're never tired. We get up early, but we're never tired. We get up early, but rather we're never tired. It makes more sense to say but here, so pero. Also, you did not have a no in the first part of your sentence, so we just left it as but, pero. All right, I hope you're feeling better about positive and negative words. Let's take a moment to transition into Gramática 7.3, talking about the preterite of ser and ir. So back in capítulo 6, you learned about the regular preterite, and we taught you how to conjugate regular preterite verbs. We're going to start working in just 2 irregulars here in chapter 7, and then we'll bring in some more in our next chapter. But here in chapter 7, we're bringing in 2 verbs, ser, which means to be, and ir, which means to go. Luckily for you, these conjugations are identical. The bad news is you have to memorize them because they're irregular, but they're identical. So basically, fui means both I was and I went. Fuiste means both you were and you went, so on and so forth. So you are going to have to look at context. Notice there are no accents here either. So we have fui, I went or I was. Fuiste, you went or you were. Fue, he or she went, or he or she was. Fuimos, we went, or we were. Fuistes, you all in Spain went, or you all in Spain were. And fueron, they went, or they were. So just take a moment and say these out loud with me. I know they are kind of hard to wrap your tongue around. So we have repitan, fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuistes, fueron. Awesome. All right. So um, again, we talked about how they're identical. So you have to look at the context to see which is being used. So look at these two photos. So Manuel, fuiste tú? Well, gosh, does it make more sense to say, Manuel, you went? Or Manuel, it was you? It seems to make more sense to say it was you, fuiste tú. Whereas the other option, los tienes desde hace 2 meses, cuando fuimos a Toledo. So you have them from 2 months ago, from when we were to Toledo or from when we went to Toledo. Yeah, it makes more sense here to say from when we went, fuimos, fuimos. Okay, another option here. Lucia fue a ver una película. Lucia went to see a movie or she was to see a movie? Well, it makes more sense to say she went. Fue. But fui a Barcelona el año pasado. I was to Barcelona last year or I went to Barcelona. Well, I went. So again, the context is going to help you here as to determine which one you're using. So let's let you practice these. Luckily, they are fairly simple. So starting with the verb ir, it's going to give you a subject, and you're just going to conjugate. Remember, these are the same conjugations. So número uno, los viajeros blank a Perú. So the passengers blank to Peru. The passengers went to Peru. So you took the verb ir, you conjugated it, and you said los pasajeros fueron a Perú. Fueron. They went to Peru. We were using our bottom right box because we know the passengers would be they. Fueron a Perú. Número dos. Patricia blank a Cusco. So Patricia went to Cusco. To say that she went, we're going to take ir and we conjugate it as fue. She went to Cusco. Número tres. Tu blank a Iquitos. So you went to Iquitos. You went, we're going to use our to form and say that tu fuiste. All right, please take a moment, pause your audio, and give the rest of these a try. When you're ready, you can unmute. All right, número cuatro. Gregorio y yo blank a Lima. To say that we went, we should say that fuimos a Lima. We went, fuimos. Yo blank a Trujillo. I went to Trujillo. Yo fui. You all went. Ustedes fueron. My dad went. Mi padre fue. He went. And we went. Nosotras fuimos. Fuimos. So just mixing together those ir conjugations for you. We do the exact same thing with the verb ser since they are identically conjugated. It's just the meaning is translated differently. So, usted fue muy amable. You formal were very nice. Número dos. Yo blank muy cordial. I was very polite. I was very cordial. So I was yo fui. They were very good. Ellos blank muy buenos. Ellos fueron muy buenos. They were. All right. So I'd like for you to please take a moment and try numbers 4 through 8. Again, using the verb ser. All right, let's take a look. So ellos fueron muy buenos. They were very good. Nosotros fuimos muy impacientes. We were very impatient. Ella fue muy antipática. She was very mean. Tú fuiste muy listo. You were very clever. Ustedes fueron muy cordiales. You were very kind. Fueron, bottom right box. And la gente fue muy paciente. This is usually the only one people miss. La gente literally does mean people. So we think about people in English, we're like, oh, would people be I, you, he, she, we, or they? And we go, oh, people is they. I'm going to use my bottom right box. They went, or they were very patient. So you're tempted to say fueron. But in this case, gente is a singular noun. So it's going to agree with the bottom left box. It's kind of like an it. So la gente will go with your he, she, it box. And we should say that la gente fue muy paciente. The people were very patient. Fue muy paciente. All right, our last grammar point for chapter 7 will be about gustar-like verbs. Gustar is such a commonly used verb in Espanol. It literally means to like or to be pleasing to. So essentially, we are taking a look to determine if what it is that we're liking or what it is pleasing us. We care about, is it a singular noun, is it a plural noun, or is it an infinitive? And that's going to determine what conjugation of gustar we use. All right. So basically, if you look down here at the bottom, the picture, we always start with an indirect object pronoun. So you know those from our last chapter, either me, te, le, nos, os, or les. So we are always starting with an indirect object pronoun. And then we need a conjugated gustar verb, so either gusta or gustan. And I'll tell you the difference in those in a moment. And then basically the subject of your sentence is what is doing the liking or what is doing the pleasing. So me gusta ese champú. I like that shampoo, or literally that shampoo pleases me. To or for me, the shampoo pleases. Me gusta el champú. So the rule here in a nutshell is that you're going to use gusta if you have a singular noun, if you like one thing, or gustan if you have a plural noun, or you like more than one thing. So me gusta ese champú. I like that shampoo, or that shampoo pleases me. But if I had multiple shampoos, I would say me gustan esos champús, just making it plural. Up here in green, you see some more examples. Me gusta ese champú and te gustan los deportes. Do you like sports? Well, since sports in this case is plural, we're using gustan instead of gusta. So literally, are the sports pleasing to you? Te gustan los deportes. To or for you, do the sports please? So kind of difficult to wrap your brain around. So just remember, if you have a singular noun, you like one thing, you're going to use gusta, like this one. Les gusta la ciudad. Do you like the city? The city is a singular noun, so les gusta la ciudad. Whereas if you have a plural noun or a list of things, you're going to use gustan. So me gustan el mar y la montaña. I like the sea, the ocean, and the mountains. In this case, we have a list of things. The ocean and the mountains, they are pleasing to me. Me gustan. Gustan. So gusta for singular nouns and infinitives, gustan for plural nouns and list of things. Here are your various conjugations of gustar. So I like me gusta, you like te gusta, he or she likes le gusta, we like nos gusta, you all in Spain like os gusta, and they or y'all like les gusta. All of those, of course, can become gustan, depending on who's doing the liking as well. Also, just for funsies, I wanted to show you, instead of I like, you could say I liked, or they liked, or y'all liked. So just as we were doing before, you have the present tense, I like. You can also put it in the past tense. So just like how gusta and gustan, we're always using the third person singular or third person plural boxes, gusta, gustan, we can also, when we put it in the preterite, continue to use those third person singular and third person plural boxes and say that me gustó, I liked it, or me gustaron, I liked them. So that's also a possibility. So me gustó, me gustaron, te gustó, te gustaron, so on and so forth. So it's not always going to be I like, it could be I liked as well, or they liked, or we liked, or y'all liked, etc. So just bringing that to your attention with gustó and gustaron. All right, so there's just another visual for you, helping you see that. So again, a good little rule of thumb is that we're always using gusta with an infinitive or a singular noun, whereas we're using gustan with a plural noun. Let me go back and give you an example with an infinitive. So here, me gusta comer y dormir, my two favorite things. I like to eat and I like to sleep. Me gusta comer y me gusta dormir. Even though we had two things, comer and dormir, both of these are infinitives. They both are unconjugated verbs. They end in AR, ER, IR. So it was gusta instead of gustan. Same thing here. Me gusta levantarme tarde. I like to get up late. We also, sometimes you want to seem kind of fancy, you want to be polite. And instead of I like or I liked, you want to say I would like. Like, what would you like to order? Oh, I would like the pasta carbonara, por favor. So I would like. In this case, we still use the same indirect object pronoun, either me, te, le, nos, os, or les. And then instead of gusta, we use gustaría, gustaría, or for plural nouns, gustaría. So here's an example. ¿Te gustaría ver esa película? Would you like to see that movie? Um, Me gustaría unos días sin clases. I would like a few days without class. So I would like, instead of I like or I liked, I would like. Occasionally, you may also use the letter A with gustar, and it just helps to show emphasis more than anything. So, a personal pronoun, and this is used to clarify the people who are being pleased. So, for example, a mí me gusta levantarme temprano. It's like really emphasizing the I, like, oh, well, I like to get up early. Y a ti, and you. You also sometimes use it with a in a noun, again, just for clarification or emphasis. So, al profesor le gustó el libro. The professor, he really liked the book. Le gustó el libro. So, that is also an option. So, again, in summary, gusta for singular nouns and infinitives, gustan for plural nouns. And let's let you practice a little bit. In this activity, I want you to conjugate the verb correctly in the present tense, telling me either I like, you like, he likes, we like, they like, etc. And also want you to tell me if you're using a singular noun, a plural noun, or an infinitive. Okay? So let's do a couple together. Número uno. A él blank la música pop. Well, he likes pop music. We know that pop music in this case is a singular noun. So we know we're using gusta. And then to pick our indirect object pronoun in front of it, we know that él means he. So he likes the pop music. The pop music is pleasing to him. A él le gusta la música pop. We inserted the le. All right, let's try another one. Número dos. A mí blank bailar. So two are for me, blank bailar. Two are for me, and then dancing. Well, we know that bailar is an infinitive. Infinitives go with gusta. And then to say I like, we should say a mí me gusta. And we use that because it's an infinitive. We'll do one more. Número tres. A nosotras blank cantar. So we like singing. Well, we know in this case singing, cantar, is an unconjugated verb. It's an infinitive. So it's going to be gusta instead of gustan. And then we just have to pick the correct indirect object pronoun, which in this case would be nos. A nosotros nos gusta. Nos gusta. All right, awesome. I'd like for you guys to pause your audio. Please give numbers 4 through 10 a try. Okay, now that you've had a moment to try those, let's take a look at número cuatro. We're talking about el dibujo in this case. El dibujo is a drawing. Either way, we know it's a singular noun. It doesn't have an S. We know it's not plural. It doesn't end in AR, ER, IR. We know it's not an infinitive. So you all like the drawing. We're going to use gusta, being a singular noun. And then to go with ustedes, you all, our bottom right box, we should say a ustedes les gusta el dibujo. You all like the drawing. Les gusta. Número cinco. A ti blank correr, ¿no? So you like to run, don't you? In this case, correr is an infinitive. So we know it's going to be gusta. We're saying that you like. So a ti te gusta correr, ¿no? Te gusta. Número seis. A Elena blankety blank bucear. Bucear is scuba diving. So we're saying Elena likes to scuba dive, or she likes. In this case, bucear in infinitive, we should use gusta. And she likes to, or for her, le gusta. Número siete. A mis padres blank los chocolates. Well, we know that chocolates are chocolates, plural. So it's a plural noun. Instead of gusta, we should be using gustan in this case. And my parents, to say that they like chocolates, a mis padres les gustan los chocolates. Número ocho. A usted, blankety blank, jugar al tenis. You formal like to play tennis. So playing tennis, jugar al tenis is an infinitive. We know we're going to use gusta. And you formal like to do it. We should say, a usted le gusta jugar al tenis. Número 9. A mi esposo y a mí, blankety blank, las novelas de terror. So my husband and I, and the horror novels or terror novels. So we like those horror books. We like scary books. Scary books, horror novels, terror novels, whatever you want to call them. That's a plural noun, so it should be gustan. And my husband and I to say we like nos gustan, plural noun. And last one, a Pedro, blankety blank, estudiar. Pedro likes to study. We know estudiar is a singular noun, so to say that he likes to study, a Pedro le gusta estudiar. All right, amigos, I hope that this has been helpful to you in understanding gustar. I do have one last thing I want to bring to your attention. It's not always going to be gustar. Sometimes we have other verbs that work just like gustar. So, for example, here's a list from your textbook. We have aburrir, to bore, encantar, which your book translates as to like very much, kind of like to love. Like, I like coffee, but I love Starbucks, right? So, aburrir, to bore, encantar, to love, faltar, to lack or to need, fascinar, to fascinate, importar, to be important to matter to, interesar, to interest or be interesting to, molestar, to bother or to annoy, quedar, to be left over or to fit in terms of clothing. These work the same way, so they're always conjugated in the bottom left box or the bottom right box. So aka AR verbs are always going to end in a or an, just like gusta and gustan, falta, faltan, queda, quedan. Your IR verbs are going to end in either e or en, just like your regular present tense. So me aburre, it bores me, or me aburren, they bore me. Now, all of those verbs on this list, all 8 of these, work the exact same way as gustar. That's why I kept emphasizing, is it a singular noun, is it a plural noun, or is it an infinitive? So all of these singular nouns are going to use your bottom left box. So aburre, encanta, falta, fascina, importa, interesa, molesta, queda, right? Bottom left box, always an A or an E, depending on whether it's an AR, ER, IR verb. Whereas your plural nouns and list of things are going to use your bottom right box. Aburren, encantan, faltan, fascinan, importan, interesan, molestan, quedan, etc. So just keep that in mind as you're using these. So here's an example. A blank me gustar más la música de Luis Fonsi. So I like most the music of Luis Fonsi. So I like a mí, and we already have our indirect object pronoun. They've already given us the me. And I like using gustar. We know música is a singular noun. So a mí me gusta la música de Luis Fonsi. And I try to use colors to help. In this case, me agrees with me, and gusta agrees with the música. Let's try another one. A mis amigos, molestar la música de esa cantante. My friends, molestar, remember molestar is not to molest, molestar is to bother. False cognate. So a mis amigos, molestar la música de esa cantante. My friends, to bother the music of this musician. They don't like that musician's music. So mis amigos, my friends, would be they. You know, we're going to use the indirect object pronoun to agree with mis amigos, which will be les. And they still like música, which is a singular noun. So we should have les molesta using that bottom left box. All right, I'd like for you guys to pause your audio. Please give these next 3 a try. Números 3, 4, y 5. And we'll just see how you do. All right, so número 3. Blank Juan y blank Rafael les fascinar la música de Shakira. Well, we know in front of our individuals' names, we always use with any gustar-like verb the letter a. So that's why it was a mí, a ti. So here we have a Juan y a Rafael, just putting the letter A in both of those boxes. A Juan y a Rafael. And in this case, they are fascinated by Shakira's music. So a Juan y a Rafael les fascina. They are fascinated. Fascina with an A, making it agree with música. A Juan y a Rafael les fascina. Número 4. Blank nosotros importar los grupos de pop latino. So again, in front of nosotros, we're just using the letter A. With importar, we know we're talking about multiple music groups, los grupos. So we're going to use our bottom right box, importan. And then we just need our indirect object pronoun. A nosotros nos importan los grupos de pop latino. It actually should say, I think it got cut off here. It should actually say nos in front. Nos importan los grupos de pop latino. Our last one, número 5. Creo que al señor Gómez interesar más la música clásica. So I think that Mr. Gomez is interested more in classical music. So I think that he is interested. Well, to say to or for him, we know we need to use our indirect object pronoun agreeing with to or for him, which is le. And he's interested in the music, classical music specifically, which is a singular noun. We're going to use our bottom left box and say that le interesa. Le interesa más la música clásica. All right, amigos. I hope that you're feeling better about these. I do want to give you one last practice attempt where they're mixed together. Again, be careful. For AR verbs, your ending is either going to be A or AN, whereas for ER verbs, your ending is always going to be E or EN. As we look at número 1, a ellos, and the verb is aburrir, to bore. And aburrir los deportes, they are bored by sports. Well, in this case, deportes, sports, is plural. So we know we're using our bottom right box. We should say aburren. And they are bored by the sports. So to say to or for them, we should use les. Les aburren los deportes. Número 2, a ti, blankety blank, las películas, ¿no? You're bored by movies, right? Who's bored by movies? Some people really are. Either way, we know that películas is a plural noun, so you are bored. We're going to use again the bottom right box, aburren, and you, informal, are bored. A ti te aburren las películas. All right, please take a moment, try the rest of these. En número 3, you're given a usted and los viajes. We know that viajes are trips. And to say that you formal are bored by the trips, you formal, bottom left box, we're using our indirect object pronoun le. And you're bored by the trips, plural, le aburren los viajes. Número 4, a mí, blank, las revistas de celebridades de Hollywood. So I am bored by the celebrity magazines of Hollywood celebrity magazines. So I am bored, a mí, and we need our indirect object pronoun here, me, and I'm bored by multiple magazines, me aburren. And finally, they feminine are bored by the sports. Up here you're given they masculine. They feminine are bored by the sports, again, les aburren. Guys, I hope this has been helpful to you. Lots of grammar in this chapter. And as always, if you have any questions for me or if I can do anything to help you at any time, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always just an email or phone call away. And I look forward to continuing to work with you this semester. Have a great day, everybody. Gracias.